Hi and welcome to a weekly outlook. This is Kim speaking on Monday, the 18th of September. So looking at the euro dollar first, and well, we saw a bit of a sell-off last week, a bit of a bounce towards the end of the week, and currently we've seen a bit of a push up. As I said in the recent updates, we've got a bit of hidden divergence between the two lows, which could see price pushing back towards, on a measured basis, back towards the monthly R1 sort of zone up at 120, 104. We do have the Fed meeting this week coming on Wednesday, 7 p.m. UK time, which may create quite a lot of volatility and either way. Um, and that's the big statement of the week. I'm looking at other data for the week, and well, today we've got Carney speaking this afternoon, which at 4 p.m., which I don't expect to create massive volatility, but maybe still hawkish and bullish towards the upside on the pound, and so there's upside risks from that potentially. But the subject matter is a bit broader than just the UK, so he's looking at international monetary funds. Was he due to speak at a central bank lecture hosted by International Monetary Fund? Uh, as I say, maybe bullish on the pound. We'll see what reaction we get there. So aside of that, then leading through to Wednesday afternoon, we've got a bit of retail sales in the UK at 9:30, which I'd expect some volatility on the pound, certainly on that. And then, as I said, the big data for which was I think will affect the euro, pound, etc. the most is the FOMC statement on Wednesday evening. There aside, I'm just looking through it. We've got a Bank of Japan policy rate on Thursday early hours, and then just the French and German PMI data and the European PMI data on Friday morning. Nothing significant really there until Canadian core retail sales may be a bit of a kicker for the Canadian dollar on the Friday afternoon. But as I said, big figure is the FOMC statement and comments. We've got their economic projections and everything else all coming out on that data. And there is a question of whether they will eventually start to talk about unwinding the large quantities of treasuries and mortgage bonds that they bought during the recession. So it'll be interesting to see if they're talking about unwinding those or what. There is an expectation that the next interest rate increase won't be done until, I was going to say Friday, until December, so the December meeting. So all in all, it looks like there could be comments regarding unwinding some of the large quantities of bonds, etc., that they have, and it is large. Okay, 4.4 trillion, I think. Okay, so that may affect us coming into Wednesday. For now, though, erring on the bullish side, because of the hidden divergence there. There's little else to say at the moment. It is already up to its daily pivot sort of zone. It's tested that already, been through that, so it's below this trend line a little bit. May edge back up towards it. Wednesday, as I say, could blow it out of the water either way. If it breaks the prior lows there, well, the hidden divergence is off. Continuation down to the 50 and maybe beyond, maybe well beyond. If they're a bit dovish at the meeting, we could see the euro pushing up quite strong towards that monthly R1. Okay, cable. Now, cable is really, we're looking, I'm looking at bullish sort of side of things here. However, it has just come as a weekly stroke monthly trend line. It depends how you look at it. It really doesn't matter. There's this trend line going across the highs here, which is a first real test of, and it's there is the potential that it may get a bit of a kicker off on a weekly basis before it runs through. It's the first, as I say, first major test of the trend line. So really seeing what's happening here, to me, I think the risk is more to the, I say the risk, but the potential is more to the upside. But we did have a good week last week, and any upside may be a little bit more contained. And of course, there's the Fed meeting on Wednesday, so that could stall that up a little bit. From looking at the sort of maybe shorter time frame, we have a weekly pivot underneath us untouched at the moment, and it may get a draw back to that. If it hasn't done it by Wednesday and we get some bullish or news or hawkish news on the dollar, well, that'll easily be met, but it may catch it beforehand. Okay, so that's cable. Let's have a look at the dollar yen. Dollar yen at the moment, still from a weekly perspective, it's pushing upwards here. Pivot swing put in on the weekly pattern here. It just looks like it's trying to break last week's high. It's just broken last week's high there. It does look bullish. It could push on from a daily perspective. That daily 200 looks like a sort of the next potential target there. He's rolling over, so maybe find some resistance if it gets that far. We do have an untouched weekly pivot here, so subject to how the data, as I say, we may be talking about this all the way through the weekly updates until Wednesday. And then Thursday we'll look at the aftermath. But for now, it is looking, as I say, looking bullish on the dollar yen as the risk is coming or being put back onto the markets, and the yen is being sold off as a consequence. Now that could carry on with the pound and the euro going up as the risk comes off. This was really seen as a risk market. Okay, Aussie dollar, or safe market, I should say. Aussie dollar, from the weekly point of view, we do have that weekly divergence still sitting there. It's sold off a little bit here on the weekly last week. It just sort of pushed through. It's not really done too much. I just, unless the FOMC really moves it, I just see chop here. It's already through its weekly pivot. There's really little to do with this at the moment. It's chopping. It's not the best of markets to be trying to trade any trend in. It's from a swing perspective, maybe if it got into a swing, it would be worth holding to see if it gets back towards that daily 50 area, which is just not really, as I say, not complying one way or the other really at the moment, clearly. And finally, from the currency pairs, the Canadian dollar. Looking at this from a weekly point of view, well, it's done a little bearish harami there, coming in last week. More consolidated weeks movement after this quite large movement that we've seen the last 3 weeks. It's from a daily perspective, well, already back to its pretty much back to the weekly pivot there. I think it's already touched. It doesn't leave us much else in that respect now. I've got this regression line on which it might sell off. If it starts breaking up, well, I'd then be looking towards the daily 21 and maybe the upper side of the regression line. It's got the potential. It's not massive, a huge move or anything. We have got an untouched monthly pivot above, which could be a draw as well. So that's pretty much the main currency pairs I'm looking at. I'll have a quick look at gold here. From a weekly perspective, well, it's rolled over, put a bit of pivot swing pattern in, and we could see a bit of follow through down towards the sort of lower bands here, maybe the weekly 21 at some point, but it's certainly looking a little bit weaker as we're running through at the moment. It's broken through its daily 21, which is the first time for quite a while that it's managed to do that. It managed to find support again last week on the Thursday. Friday saw it coming off again, and we've broken that level now. So looks like the monthly pivot may be hit, and if not, I say if not, and if that happens, it may even run through towards the 50% retrace of this bigger move. But certainly that 38% looks, with the monthly pivot 34 and everything sort of sitting there, looks like a reasonable target. Now again, that could all be spoilt come Wednesday evening. We've got to bear that in mind. Finally, I will look at the S&P, so I'm going to look at the cash market here. From the bigger picture, weekly pivot first. Again, new all-time highs pushing in there, and well, what we're seeing from the cash market at this moment, well, it was sort of little gaps in the market, and it's sort of pushing up, and it looks like there's just is this an exhaustive gap that we're sort of seeing now in this move? We'll see how it pushes up today. Let's just have a quick look at the futures on the dailies here. See, they're pushing up again here, so we may see yet another little gap appear as we come to the cash market later. But I wouldn't be trying to fight against this price action is sitting in there at the moment. It's certainly got the potential to adjust, but for now, it's bullish. Okay, that's it for me. Have a great week. I'll be back next week. Bye for now.